Hello, sir.
Hello, Carrot Top?
Hey, buddy.
Scott. Do I call you Scott? Do I call you Carrot
Either
Top?
whatever. Yeah, you tell me Carrot Top, Scott, whatever. It don't matter.
All right. Well, Scott, thank you so much for calling into my podcast. Sorry for the technical difficulties earlier.
Yeah, it's weird hearing myself once. I hate to hear myself twice.
Yeah, the echo thing, when you have it on the other channel, it goes like an echo thing, and that's something we've been fixing for a while, and that's just something we're going to have to live with. It differs on whoever the carrier is that's calling in.
Got it. All right, well, sounds good so far. Rock and roll.
Let's just jump right into it, man. I want to thank you for calling in the podcast. My man, you're going to be here at the Soundboard at Motor City Casino on the 18th. That's like next week, man.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's coming up.
Man, I am a big fan. And I want to say this, and this is like a feather in my cap to even be talking to you.
Well, that's very nice. Thanks, man. Yeah, I've been doing this for a while, so it's been a fun run. Now I get people walk up and say, "Hey, my mom loves you. Can I get a picture?" So it's getting to be that, but it's all cool. Yeah, we're having a good time.
Well, let's just jump right into it, man. You've been doing this thing for over 30 years, and quite honestly, you're coming here to my town. Like, being on the road, I'm very curious because, you're a staple at the Luxor in Vegas, but what is it like being on the road, or like what's the difference between the two, being on the road versus being in Luxor?
Well, we want to be traveling. I mean, the Luxor gig, I go home every night. I'm in my house, and I go down to the showroom and come back home. And on the road, you'll be, you feel more like a rock star. You'll be in a bus, and you'll have, a different venue, which would be nice too. It'd be nice to see different people. And it's fun to go around the different towns and kind of come up with some local stuff that I can interject into the show and show them that I've been around their town. And yeah, the bus alone is just such a big deal. It's just you're just traveling, like a rock star. So it's fun.
Yeah, I mean, like, because like I said, you've been doing this for so long that you became like a staple in Vegas, and sometimes like people usually come to Vegas, and you get those people coming from all walks of life coming, to Vegas, but it's not like being on their home turf,
Oh, sure, for sure. It's my turf, exactly. So this will be coming to your turf, so it'll be fun. It'll be good to get out,
Now I want to say this, and I hope this. I don't mean no disrespect, but it's just sort of like you're a prop comic. You are the staple when it comes down to prop comedy. Everyone references you when it comes down to props. I'm very curious. Now I've seen your show in Vegas, and I get it, but how do you do that on the road? Because if you send your prop somewhere, you got to be on it, because if you leave.
Yeah, I travel with them. Trust me. We stay right next to them, man. We have a system to get them out there first of all. But yeah, there's been times back in the past when I was flying with them and they went on the wrong plane. I was going to do a Regis and Kathy Lee show in the morning in New York, and I looked out the window of the plane, and the plane next to us, they were loading luggage, and I saw my trunks going on there. And I'm like, oh my God, my luggage. And they're like, are you sure? All bags look alike. I'm like, no, these are trunks with flowers on them. I think they're mine. So I got lucky in that regard, because I happened to look over, and the guy went and grabbed him off the plane. But there's been close calls like that where, you get there and you're like, oh crap.
Now, like when that happens, well, granted, knock on wood, that never, happens again. But one cool thing I have seen in your show in Vegas, I saw where you got a chance to just kind of drop the props. I think it's for like 20, 30 minutes, and you just told straight up regular stand-up.
Stories. Yeah.
Can you do that? It's almost like in case of emergency type thing?
No, I've just incorporated a lot of stand-up into the show over the years, because I've been doing, there's still plenty of props involved, but the amount of stand-up has increased over the years, probably from having the Vegas show. You just kind of get into a rhythm, and you start getting more comfortable telling stories. But yeah, there's probably a third of the show is probably stand-up and no props, really, as you witnessed.
Now, here's something that I always thought that was pretty cool because, like, how you're. I'm a student of comedy, but you're a student of comedy. I hope that makes sense.
Sure. Yes, absolutely.
So, like, your style of comedy is more on that vaudevillian type, old
Hmm.
school. I'm very
Yeah, it's
curious.
a little mixture of everything. Actually, it's a little bit of vaudeville, it's a little bit of traditional stand-up, and a little bit of a little bit of everything. I mean, my people that I admired were so there's so many comics that you can't think of the George Carlins and the Richard Pryors and the. But then I'd go back and watch Jonathan Winters and go back and watch Jerry Lewis and stuff, and it was a little bit of everything. Like not necessarily dancing and singing per se, but I know I did a TV show with Larry Sanders when he had Larry Sanders show, and all the old comics there, like Milton Berle and all these guys, and all those old guys came up to me and said, "Man, I love your style. It's like our old style." They were really into it. They like the fact that I had all the variety and the props and the stuff in it. So, yeah, so there's a little bit of everything. Probably that's what makes it fun.
That's what makes it so cool because it's like old school comedy, but it resonates with like today's audience. And
Yeah, yeah. Well, thank you.
by being a student of comedy, I mean, like one of the things that you do that I love. It's and this is I'm going inside baseball for a few people, and this is one of the many things I like about you. Not just with the props, but it's like a jokes per minute ratio. It's like very quick.
Yeah,
So when you
yeah.
use
It kind of happened again in Vegas because the crowd's attention span is small and smaller and smaller every year. So I think I've become faster on stage trying to keep them from going in a sense.
now I'm curious. Over like you've been doing this over 30 years, how do you keep it fresh with all of these things that's popping up? Low attention
Yeah,
spans.
yeah. Well, it's that's the challenge. You kind of re establish upgrade the show all the time. Trying to even staying with technology. Using the interaction with I have big screens. I interact with the screen a lot of times too. So behind me, I can use as a punchline as well. So there's all kinds of ways to get a joke out to the people. It could be a prop, could be a stand-up, it could be a picture on the screen. There's tons of music cues and stuff to keep. It's kind of lively and fast. There's lots of music cues, and sometimes the music is this music itself is the joke. I mean, there's a song I do a whole bunch of jokes about the actual lyrics of songs, and so the song itself is really what we're laughing at, as opposed to so there's a lot of ways to get a joke out.
I mean, and like I said, one of the things I admire about you is because it's always evolving. It's
Yeah.
always moving towards whatever's happening right now. And unfortunately, one of the things that's happening right now is like the, for lack of a better term, PC
Yeah.
police.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
You
I
found
kind
a
of
way
yeah.
to stay above that.
Well, yeah, because I never really push it too far to get people going crazy. I mean, I keep it, it's pretty tame. I try not to offend, and that's one thing that's not my style of comedy is to make it, to make something so uneasy for the crowd that it's going to upset half of them or more of them. So I try to keep it fun. Like I talk politics, but I do very little. I mean, like less than a minute on the whole thing, and I don't pick on Trump. I pick on, the process in a sense, really. So that way people don't get all bent out of shape because they don't want to talk about, they don't really care about things about politics anyhow, I don't think. So we try to keep it fun and lighthearted, and yeah, so that's where you kind of know when something's going to be too offensive. But over the years, like you said, over 30 years, I've seen it completely change. 100% change on how people, like you said, the PC police. I mean, it's ridiculous how uptight this country is on a lot of topics and a lot of things that never would have been 30 years ago.
Now, one thing that I'm very interested in, because I've seen it and I've talked to other comedians on my podcast about PC police and like how they could just find the thing they want to be offended about it, and then it goes hard, and then it turns into a spiral. But one thing I feel that was that was good is because you always could kind of sort of point to the props, because it's a weird line where it's sort of like, if you say the thing, then you're evil. But if you point to the thing that you created, it's okay because it's something else. I hope that makes sense.
Well, I don't know. Well, they kind of turn on me on a few of those anyhow. Speaking of a political one, I had a clear, imagine like a clear box, and it's got padlocks all over the box, so it looks like like a magic trick. So there's something. So I put a cell phone inside this box, all padlocked up, so you can see the phone bouncing around inside. I said it's a phone case for Donald Trump, so he can't tweet. Nice. At night. So they lock his box up. But they would do that, and that's kind of like what you're saying. They're like, oh, Trump. I'm like, it's a joke. It's just a joke about him tweeting. I'm not making fun of him. I'm making fun of him tweeting. And most people think, yeah, it's a new world. We didn't have a president that ever tweeted, so we're seeing that can get him in trouble at times, and even Trump would laugh at that one.
Now, what's interesting with me, what I always want to do this, and I think this is my last prop question. But it is what it is. I'm sorry. I just want to ask that question. It's just, do you retire them? Do you reuse them? Because some of the stuff you used, I mean, like, just based on time, you could use again. Or is it something where you just like, well, this joke is done. I'm done with the prop. I'm done.
Well, you just explained it perfectly. So I have a warehouse in Vegas that I take things to when I feel they've run their course, and I store them in there. I never get rid of anything, and then there can be many, not really actually a few times recently where you could take something like you just did and either reuse it or restructure it to fit this new current thing that I have. So there has been a lot of times where I say, oh, I got to go to the warehouse and find that blanket blank. That'll work good now. So yeah, there's always that, which is always great. You can find it, And then finding the prop, I'm like, oh crap, where is it in the warehouse?
All right, and this is my hack question. I always alert people to the hack question. I feel like I have to say that, but it is kind of a hacky question. I'm sorry if you heard this a billion times. I just feel like there's always that one guy who didn't know, right?
And what do you mean?
All right, this is a hack question. Like I said, like a couple years ago, which was awesome.
I think you said hat. You're saying hack.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I think you said hat. Good.
No, what I'm saying, like, hack, it's just, I know you've been asked this a billion times. But it's like almost damn near obligation where I have to ask this question.
Okay, let's do it.
And that
the drum roll goes.
And that question is this. Look, a few years ago, you hit the gym hard. And you're like jacked. And it was weird because it messed with myself, because growing up I used to see Carrot Top. He comes out with the trunk and kind of skinny guy, kind of looks like me, minus like a lot of stuff. But he kind of
yeah, well, what happened, and I'll tell you how it all happened, because when I got the gig in Vegas, there wasn't any traveling, there's nothing to do. I mean, literally, I had all day long to do nothing. So I got into, which I've always been, I go back to my very first time on stage. You can see my athletic build. I was a swimmer, I wrestled in high school. So I was always at the gym when I was 15 or whatever. So I've always worked out. But then I got this gig and I had all this free time, and I was like, you know what, I think I'll start, working out harder and really taking it serious. And I did, and then I got tired of it, and now I'm back to normal. I just got into it. It was fun, and had nothing else to do. But then after a while, you're like, you can't be any muscly if a certain amount of muscle, especially as you get older. It was a fun fling for a bit, and that's it.
Okay, you're normal.
But I still work out though. I work out every day and I run every day.
Your normal is what I aspire to do in the gym.
Well, like I said, I've been doing this forever, my whole life. So there's been, there's a lot of training that's gone involved in this. I mean, over the years. So.
All right, and
you can do it, man. You can do it. I feel you can do it. I know you can do it.
At this point, I just made a deal with myself. I earned enough money to look exactly like this at this point.
I like it.
Now, one thing and this is the like last thing. I know I like I said, you're one of my favorites, and one of the things I love most about you, not necessarily the comedy. The comedy is there. You're a funny dude. Clearly, I don't know if anyone told you, but you are. But one of the coolest things about Carrot Top has always been you've always been ahead of the game as far as branding yourself. Whether that be like you saw your red hair and you made it a positive, and you become one of the most successful brand ambassadors of your own comedy. Like anyone who talks about prop comedy has to bring you up. It's just you're the Jordan of prop comedy.
Well, all right, I like it.
So
I'm
very curious. It's sort of like, I know doing some homework you were a marketing major in college, but was that a part of the plan the whole time?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I thought of this is not a joke. I told this on the Oprah show thing. She asked about how I thought of this thing, and that was my story. I told her it was I was in college, and I of course a marketing major, and I wanted to be a comedian, and so I went down to the clubs, and I do my open mic nights and do like everyone else starts. But the very first time I was on stage, I said I have to have a name. I have to have a stage name. And so I was, and this is not a joke, and a logo. So I said I got to have a logo and a name, like show busy name. And so I came up with Carrot Top, and I drew this little carrot, holding a microphone, like a little logo, and I made a T-shirt, and I made I drew it on a piece of cardboard or something, and I put it in the back of my trunk. So when I was on stage, it said Carrot Top behind me on the trunk. So when I was up there, the whole time people would see Carrot Top as I was performing. And so at the end of the night, if they didn't remember any other comic, they'd say, "Oh yeah, the Carrot Top thing. We got the props." So it was definitely well thought out from day one about having a brand and having it literally etched in their brains. So the whole time they're watching me, they saw the name. So yeah.
Yeah, and like with that, I thought that was very smart and very like forward thinking. But one of the things about that, it just now is to the point where you have to reference you in this form of comedy.
Right. Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's been a fun run for sure.
Hey, it ain't over, man. You said 30.
Yeah, no, it's still going. Yeah, we're still we still got 5 more years at the Lux, or at least that to do, and then we'll go from there. But yeah, I don't have any really plan on. I'm gonna just go as long as I can, like all my friends that have in the past. People always ask all comedians, "How long are you gonna do this?" And, as long as you can, as long as people show up and want to see it, that's as long as I'll do it.
Now, one thing I always wanted to know, like you grew up, and I hope I'm not jumping any foul territory here, but your dad was a NASA engineer who helped design like the lunar vehicles driven on the moon's surface.
Yes.
So you grew up with a kind of like expectation. Oh, well, you're going to do this, and then when you said you're doing comedy, how did that turn out?
Yeah. Well, it as it turned out now, okay, but then it wasn't very. That conversation wasn't quite fun to have. I remember my dad was like, "You doing what?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm doing comedy." He said, "But you're not funny." I said, "I know. You got to come check it out, then you'll see." But yeah, I did. I did. I didn't want to have that path. In fact, my father even wanted me to work at the Space Center. My brother had gone on to the Air Force Academy and was a pilot, and I was, building stuff in my garage, like making props. And so, yeah, first it was a very interesting, thing until my dad actually came down to one of my shows, and he watched and said, "Oh man, that's really funny. It's clever. Wow, this is all the stuff you've been building in the garage." And I said, "Yeah." So, of course, he became my biggest fan after he realized that I was doing well and stuff. So he just just never knew that I had that in me. You know, he's like, "You're such a quiet kid. What the hell?" So, but yeah, it turned out fine. And now, of course, my dad passed away 3 years ago, but he was always a huge fan. You know, a big supporter of me, and yeah, the family's, of course, is proud. My mom still comes out to the show. She lives in Vegas, so she comes out to the show a lot. My brother also lives in Vegas. He's a pilot for Southwest, so we get to see all the family gets to see each other a lot, actually.
That's pretty cool, man. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Now, one thing I wanted to ask, and this is the last one. I am not a comedian on stage, if that makes sense. I'm a podcaster.
Mm-hmm.
If you find me funny, that's awesome, but I'm not a stand-up. I respect the hell out of you guys, but that's just not my thing.
Right.
But I do know a ton of stand-ups who listen to my show. Yeah. So I would like to ask, if you don't mind, what was some advice that you would give to those aspiring comics who may be up and coming, who just made a leg up? What advice would you give those guys who's listening right now to say, like, hey, I want to be the next fill in the blank?
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, it's just from my experience over all the years, and I'm sure most comedians probably would give some of the same advice. One is, most importantly, is finding what it is that's going to be your voice. Like, what is going to be your thing? You know, when you get up there, and when they introduce your name, what is it you're going to talk about? You're going to talk about politics, you're going to talk about current events, you're going to talk about family, you're going to talk about, dirty jokes, are you going to be a clean comic, are you going to be in between? You just, whatever that voice is first. And the second thing that I would give anyone as advice is time on stage. Once you get that voice, you gotta work your craft. You gotta try to get on stage as often as you can. To hone it down to whatever, even if you need 10 minutes or 15 minutes of material or half an hour, whatever you aspire to. But that's the most important part, getting your voice and getting the time. And I think that's the two things that you need first off. George Carlin, I tell the story a lot of times. I asked George Carlin one time, I said, "Man, what's it like to be you?" And he says, "What do you mean?" I said, "Well, to be like, well, you got it figured out." And this is what he's done. It's a 30th HBO special, right? And I said, "What's it like to be like, to figure it out and get it? It must be nice." And he said, I don't got nothing, kid. I'm still learning this. I know nothing." And I never forgot that. It was like, no matter what level he was or you are, you're still learning. You still don't think that you got it. You don't have it figured out. I mean, you watch Chris Rock and you watch Eddie Murphy, and you're like, come on, they got it figured out. But probably deep down, they're probably thinking, no, I got to get better. I got to get, tighter. I got to get this. So I always use that. I'm always learning. I've never thought I got this kind of thing.
That's awesome. Because it's almost like there's a never-ending thing. You always go to chase. You always want to evolve. You always want to be better. And
yeah, for sure.
That's awesome. So, Scott, man, thank you so much. I know.
Thanks, Sam.
I went way over the time allowed, but I want to say, again, you're going to be here on the 18th of March at the Soundboard in Motor City. CarrotTop.com, Carrot Top Live on IG and Twitter, Real Carrot Top. I'll give the floor to you. Whatever you want to plug, this is the Carrot Top moment. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, just thanks for coming. I hope we'll see you guys at the show. And if you're ever out in Vegas, we're at the Luxor. Other than that, man, just thanks to all your listeners. Hope they enjoyed what I had to say. And we'll see everybody soon. Be safe. Wash your hands.
Oh, Corona. Yo, yeah.
Wash your hands. You'll be fine.
All right, well, thank you so much, Scott.
Yeah, man, thanks, Sam. Appreciate it, buddy. Man, you're awesome, too. Appreciate it.
All right, I'll talk to you later.
Mm-hmm.